भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निधि नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी भाष्यदेशतारिणे नामिने जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नष्टिकी reading from Introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. So the Lord, after accepting the sannyas order, at once wanted to start for Vrindavan. For 3 continuous days, he traveled in the Radha Desh, places where the Ganges does not flow. He was in full ecstasy over the idea of going to Vrindavan. However, Sri Nityananda diverted his path and brought him instead to the house of Advaita Prabhu in Shantipur. The Lord stayed at Sri Advaita Prabhu's house for a few days, and knowing well that the Lord was leaving his hearth and home for good, Sri Advaita Prabhu sent his men to Navadvip to bring Mother Sachi to have a last meeting with her son. Some unscrupulous people say that Lord Chaitanya met his wife also after taking sannyas and offered her his wooden slippers for worship, but the authentic sources give no information about such a meeting. His mother met him at the house of Advaita Prabhu, and when she saw her son in sannyasa, she lamented. The way of compromise she requested her by way of compromise, she requested her son to make his headquarters in Puri so that she would easily be able to get information about him. The Lord granted the last desire of his beloved mother. After this incident, the Lord started for Puri, leaving all the residents of Navadip in an ocean of lamentation over his separation. Okay. Now, Premanand Bro, you want to read?
Yes, Bro. The Lord visited many important places on the way to Puri. He visited the temple of Gopinath Ji, who had stolen condensed milk for his devotee Srila Madhavendra Puri. Since then, deity Gopinath Ji is well known as Kshirachora Gopinatha. The Lord relished this story with great pleasure. The propensity of stealing is there even in the absolute consciousness, but because this propensity is exhibited by the absolute, it loses its perverted nature and thus becomes worshipable even by Lord Chaitanya on the basis of the absolute consideration that the Lord and his stealing propensity are one and identical. This interesting story of Gopinath Ji is vividly explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadasa Kaviraja Goswami.
Okay. Next, who wants to read? Charumanta, you want to read?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Yeah.
After visiting the temple of Krishna Gopinath of
Chir Chor Gopinath. Chir Chor Gopinath.
oh sorry, Chira Kora Gopinath of Ramuna at Balsor in Orissa, the Lord proceeded towards Puri. On the way, visited the temple Saksi Gopala, who appeared as a witness in the matter of two Brahmana devotees' family quarrel. The Lord heard the story of Sakshi Gopala with great pleasure because he wanted to impress upon attest that the worshipable deities in the temples approved by great acharyas are not idols, are alleged by men with a poor fund of knowledge. The deity in the temple in Arca incarnation of personality
Archa,
Archa.
Archit, I believe.
Sure, yes. Archa incarnation of the personality of Godhead, and thus deity in is identical with the Lord in all respects. He responds to the proportion of the devotee's affection for him. In the story of Sakshi Gopala, in which there was a family misunderstanding by two devotees of the Lord, in order to mitigate the turmoil as well as to show specific favor to his servitors, traveled from Vrindavan to Vidyanagara, a village of Orissa, in form of his Arca incarnation. From there, the deity was brought to
Katak.
Katak, and thank you. And thus, the temple of Sakshi Gopala is even today visited by thousands of pilgrims on the way to Jagannath Puri. The Lord stayed overnight there and began to proceed towards Puri. On the way, his sannyasa rod was broken by Nityananda Prabhu, Charitra Madhya 1.97. The Lord became apparently angry with him about this and went alone to Puri, leaving his companion behind.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
You. Okay, next.
Prabhuji, I can read.
Yeah.
So at Puri, when he entered the temple of Jagannath, he became at once saturated with transcendental ecstasy and fell down on the floor of the temple unconscious. The custodians of the temple could not understand the transcendental feats of the Lord, but there was a great learned Pandita named Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Thank you. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was present, and he could understand that the Lord, losing his consciousness upon entering the Jagannatha temple, was not an ordinary thing. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the chief appointed Pandita in the court of the king of Orissa, Maharaja Prataparudra, was attracted by the youthful luster of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and could understand that such a transcendental trance was only rarely exhibited and only then by the topmost devotees who are already on the transcendental plane in complete forgetfulness of material existence. Only a liberated soul could show such a transcendental feat, and the Bhattacharya, who was vastly learned, could understand this in the light of the transcendental literature with which he was familiar. He therefore asked the custodian of the temple not to disturb the unknown sannyasi. He asked them to take the Lord to his home so he could be further observed in his unconscious state. The Lord was at once carried to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who at that time had sufficient power of authority due to his being the Sabha Pandita or the state dean of faculty in Sanskrit literature. The learned Pandita wanted to scrutinizingly test the transcendental feats of Lord Chaitanya because often unscrupulous devotees initiate physical feats in order to flaunt transcendental achievements just to attract innocent people and take advantage of them. A learned scholar like the Bhattacharya can detect such impostors, and when he finds them out, he at once rejects them.
Okay.
Uh,
Next, Yaramita Mata, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. In the case of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya tested all the symptoms in light of the Shastras. He tested as a scientist, not as a foolish sentimentalist. He observed the movement of the stomach, the beating of the heart, and breathing of the nostrils. He also felt the pulse of the Lord and saw that all his bodily activities were in complete suspension. When he put a small cotton swab before the nostrils, he found out that there was a slight breathing as the fine fibers of cotton moved slightly. Thus, he came to know that the Lord unconscious trance was genuine, and he began to treat him in the prescribed fashion. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could only be treated in a special way. He would respond only to the resounding of the holy names of the Lord by his devotees. This special treatment was unknown to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya because the Lord was still unknown to him. When Bhattacharya saw him for the first time in the temple, he simply took him to be one of the many pilgrims. Uh, Prabhuji, can you scroll down? Should I continue?
I will let the other also read.
Okay. Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, who wants to go next?
Hare
Shamina Mata, you want to read?
Hare Krishna. Yeah. In the meantime, the companions of the Lord who reached the temple a little later after him heard of the Lord's transcendental feats and of his being carried away by the Bhattacharya. The pilgrims at the temple were still gossiping about the incident, but by chance one of these pilgrims had met Gopinatha Acharya, who was known to Gadadhara Pandita, and from him it was learned that the Lord was lying in an unconscious state at the residence of Sarvam Bhattacharya, who happened to be the brother-in-law of Gopinatha Acharya. All the members of the party were introduced by Gadadhara Pandita to Gopinatha Acharya, who took them all to the houses of Bhattacharya, where the Lord was lying unconscious in a spiritual trance. All the members then chanted loudly the holy name of the Lord, Hari, as usual, and the Lord regained his consciousness. After this, Bhattacharya received all the members of the party, including Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and asked them to become his guest of honor. The party, including the Lord, went for a bath in the sea, and the Bhattacharya arranged for their residence and meals at the house of Kashi Mishra. Gopinatha Acharya was his brother-in-law, also assisted. There were some friendly talks about the Lord's divinity between the two brothers-in-law, and in this argument, Gopinatha Acharya, who knew the Lord before, now tried to establish the Lord as the personality of Godhead, and the Bhattacharya tried to establish him as one of the great devotees. Both of them argued from the angle of vision of authentic Shastras and not on the strength of sentimental vox populi. The incarnations of God are determined by authentic Shastras and not by popular votes of foolish fanatics. Because Lord Chaitanya was an incarnation of God, in fact, foolish fanatics have proclaimed so many so called incarnations of God in this age without referring to authentic scriptures. But Sarvam Bhattacharya or Gopinatha Acharya did not indulge in such foolish sentimentalism. On the contrary, both of them tried to establish or reject his divinity on the strength of authentic Shastras. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Yeah, Krishna Nandaji, you can read now.
Hare Krishna. Later, it was disclosed that Bhattacharya also came from the Navadvipa area, and it was understood from him that Nilambara Chakravarti, the material grandfather of Lord Chaitanya, happened to be a class fellow of the father of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. In that sense, the young sannyasi Lord Chaitanya evoked paternal affection from Bhattacharya. Bhattacharya was the professor of many sannyasis in the order of the Sankaracharya Sampradaya, and he himself also belonged to that cult. As such, the Bhattacharya desired that the young sannyasi Lord Chaitanya also hear from him about the teachings of Vedanta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so We'll just quickly summarize that what we read today. So yesterday we discussed that how Lord Chaitanya he took the sannyasa in Katak, and then before the sannyasa, other devotees were assisting him, and after the sannyasa, other devotees were assisting him. So then, immediate after sannyasa, the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was he wanted to go and visit the Vrindavan. So he started to go to Vrindavan for next 3 days. He was walking, 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 and he was in full ecstasy. But then Nityanand Prabhu tricked him because he was kind of lost his external consciousness. He was like constantly in ecstasy, singing, chanting, dancing, and all that. So they tricked him and they brought him again, back to the Shantipur, the house of Advaita Acharya. And the Lord stayed there in the house of Advaita Acharya, and then Lord decided that okay, I should leave now. So at that point, Advaita Acharya, what he did, he thought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu now, because he's a sannyasi now, he'll go away, and you never know like when he will come back or whether he will come or not. So he thought it's a good idea to call the mother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu before the last time she can see her son. So then Sachimata also came, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu last time met Sachimata, and then she was lamenting because the young boy, left home, left young wife, the mother, and became sannyasi, had shave, and all of that. So mother was crying, and then at the end she requested that yes, you go ahead, you are taken sannyasa, I'll not stop you, but you can, stay close to the Bengal, not go very far off somewhere. So on the request of Mother Sachi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made his headquarter after sannyasa in Jagannath Puri. So Jagannath Puri is not very far from Bengal, you know. So at least some news will come. It's not like that she will go and meet him, but if it's somewhere close, then the news will come like that. Something. So when he decided, okay, I'll go to Puri then. So when on the way he was going, then he had darshan of the various temples, one of the famous temple. Okay, now here is a quiz question. So there was a temple on the way. The temple, uh, the deity was worshipped by a great devotee. Anybody knows what was that great devotee?
Madhavendra Puri.
Madhavendra Puri, yes. Who is Madhavendra Puri?
Is actually Guru in our parampara, in Odia parampara.
Yeah. So Madhavendra Puri is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Guru.
Guru.
Is Ishwar Puri, and Ishwar Puri's spiritual master is Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri, there is a pastime which has been again described elaborately in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He used to worship this particular deity, which is famous as. Okay, let me see who want to answer. You have to raise hand. Don't answer just like that. Okay, yes, Jai Shri Mataji.
It was Akshira Chora Gopinatha.
Yes, Shir Chor Gopinath, that was the deity. And there's a beautiful pastime that how Krishna in that particular form, that Gopinath form, he stole the kheer. Kheer means like the kheer basically. So he stole the kheer. The Lord is stealing the kheer for what? For his devotee Madhavendra Puri. We'll discuss that pastime sometime. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was going on the way, he had this darshan of Shir Chor Gopinath, right? And then he goes further after having the darshan, and then there is another temple. Which another temple that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had the darshan? Anybody knows the name of the temple?
Sakshi Gupa.
Yes, Sakshi Gopal is the temple that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had the darshan on the way. So that is also another beautiful pastime of Sakshi Gopal, that how Lord, that Gopal deity, it walked from Vrindavan to that Vidyanagar, which is like in Odisha. Right. So this is beautiful pastime that how the deities are not like some stone statue. If the devotee is qualified, is purified enough, then deities can reciprocate, respond. The deity walked all the way from Vrindavan to Odisha. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard those pastimes and also had the darshan of those deities. And finally, he reached uh, Jagannath Puri. Okay, before that, what happened? The Katak, one another Leela happened. Anybody remembers what happened there while he was going on the way in Katak? What happened there? Let me see, anybody knows. Okay, yes, Shamna Mantaj, go ahead.
He visited the Puri temple.
No, that is after reaching Puri. I'm telling on the way.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so on the way, what happened was this Nityanand Prabhu broke his sannyasa danda. Now, Nityanand Prabhu says, "What is this? You are taken sannyasa, you don't need any sannyas." So he broke that. So this is famous as Danda Bhanga Leela. Danda means sannyasa danda, the sannyasa rod. So Nityanand Prabhu broke that and threw that. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was looking, hey, where is my that rod, sannyasa rod? And then later he was very externally, not internally. He was seemingly like angry on Nityanand Prabhu. Why did you break mine like that? But then Nityanand Prabhu's argument was, Lord, you are beyond all this sannyas and all that. You don't need any sannyas like that. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was happy within that, these devotees, it is a loving reciprocation with their Lord. So like that happened. And then finally he reached to Jagannath Puri. And as soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached to Jagannath Puri, what happened? He had the darshan of Jagannath. And as he saw Jagannath, immediately he fell unconscious. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us that how one should have the darshan of the Lord in the temple. We also go to the temple, we see the deities, and still we keep thinking 100 other things. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked at Jagannath deity. He said, "Oh my God, like, oh my Lord, you are sitting here." Jagannath, like he could see Sakshat, Lord is sitting there. He says, "I'm searching for you everywhere, you are sitting here." He went into that much ecstasy and he fell unconscious. Now that is the kind of, this is how he was having the darshan. Of course, we cannot artificially imitate, but we should aspire to see and we should understand that this is how we should see the Lord in the temple. They are not some stone statue or some idols like that, but Sakshat Lord is sitting there. But somebody has to have that vision. We have to develop that vision. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadhaiva Hridayesh Vilokayanti. So when we develop the vision of that eyes anointed with the love of God, then we see the Lord. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he saw Jagannath, he said, "Oh my God, Lord, you are sitting here," and he fell unconscious. And suddenly, the crowd gathered. They say, "Who is this young boy? Very attractive." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very brilliant. His name is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Gauranga means his complexion was like very bright complexion, like a molten gold. This is the kind of complexion. So very, very bright, and then he fell unconscious. So people gathered there. And in that crowd, there was another learned scholar. And what was the name of that learned scholar? Who will tell the name?
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Prabhu.
Yes, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was there. And he was a impersonalist, the Mayavadi sannyasi. But he was very well versed in the scriptures, a very learned scholar. And then he saw, so he could see the symptom that this young sannyasi is not some ordinary person. Based on the symptom, he could sense the symptoms of ecstasy. So he fell unconscious in ecstasy. So then later, they took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And then, later his associates were also coming following him. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached little early because he was in so much, he was so excited and so much ecstasy that he started running. So he came running to Jagannath Puri. So that is how he reached a little before than anybody else. And this is what happened. He was all alone. He fell unconscious. He was taken to the house of residence of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And later all his associates and all these people came, "Okay, where is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Where is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?" So they're searching and asking the people in the temple, and then somebody told that, "Oh yeah, we saw one young sannyasi, he fell unconscious and then he's in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya." So there, all these devotees they gathered and then they started. So they're figuring out like, he's not coming to consciousness. So then all these devotees reached there and then they started chanting Hare Krishna mantra, the holy name. And just by hearing and that the holy name, immediately Lord, regained his consciousness back. Yeah. So these are all kind of, very beautiful pastimes in the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then there was, we'll see that there will be a discussion. So then, the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, very learned scholar, had priest of Jagannath temple at the time. So then he found like, this young sannyasi Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is actually the grandchild of Nilambar Chakravarti. Nilambar Chakravarti was the maternal grandfather of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then there was a connection between uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Nilambar Chakravarti. They both were like, they were the classmates. So they found, oh, he's my like relative, I know him, and like that. So now this Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a elderly scholar person. He's little concerned. What is his concern? Oh, this young sannyasi in he's such a young boy. He has taken sannyasa. It's not easy to maintain sannyasas like that in such a young age. So he should better learn and get well versed with all the Vedantas. Should listen the scriptures, and he is a very scholarly person. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So he will now request him that, okay, you are taken the sannyasa, not easy to maintain this. Better you just listen from me. You get educated. I'll teach you all this Vedanta. So now we'll read that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed to listen from the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for next 7 days. He's just telling him all this philosophy, big things. And we'll see that what happens after that. Okay. So this is the short summary on what we read today. Any quick question or any comment, anyone?
I have just a little observation. I love that how much patience Mahaprabhu has, the Lord has. He listened for 7 days to serve Brahma. Yeah.
Yes.